Sorry about that, folks. Running just a couple of minutes late. I do apologize. Welcome to the Thursday evening edition of Chattin on the Porch with your humble host, the Front Porch Conservative, known in some circles as the beau in the chapeau, known to some as the fine fella in the fedora, known to some as the wise guy in the wide brim, but above all else, I am known as your host. We are on YouTube, we are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, so if you haven't done it yet, send out a tweet, a Gettr, a gab, a Truth Social, a Facebook post, wherever you may be out there in internet land, and tell everybody, hey, there's a funny-looking fella in a funny-looking hat who's talking about the news. Come on in, let's check this thing out. Anyway, good to have you all here. Always a pleasure to see everybody. And yeah, we're looking for a really good night here, so we're going to have some fun, talk about what's going on, and see if we can't figure it all out. So, got a nice little crowd settling in over there on Rumble. Got a nice little crowd settling in over on YouTube. Good to have everybody here. Glad to have all you here tonight. Again, this is Chattin on the Porch. My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. And oh boy, have we got a bunch of stuff to talk about. Oh my gosh. And some of it, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm going to wind up ranting this evening. I really will, because some of the stuff that's happened in the past 24 hours is enough to absolutely make me crazy. And you're probably going to understand why as we start getting into it. So anyway, we're on YouTube, we're on Rumble, we are on Twitter. I'm glad to have you here. It's Thursday night, May the 9th. Can you believe how fast this year is flying by? Unbelievable. Glad to have you all here. And I want to start out tonight. I think I may have found my unofficial motto for the electronic front porch. I saw this the other day and just laughed because it harkens back to a much better time in comedy. And it's just for the absolute silliness of it all. But I found this and I was like, this is just too good not to share. From the legendary Groucho Marx, please accept my resignation. I don't want to belong to any club that would have me as a member. You know, I don't know if that's going to be the motto of the electronic front porch, but I tell you what, I love it and I think it's just funny as can be. So I do not want to belong to any club that would have me as a member. Anyway, I thought it was funny. I thought I'd just share it with y'all. Glad to have y'all here tonight. Hope everybody is doing well. If you're out there, drop a line. Let me know you're here and can hear everything and everything is good on everywhere you go. So all that good stuff. Anywho, lots to talk about tonight. And like I say, some of it is just plain old frustrating.
So all that good stuff.
Anywho. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm just double checking something while I was out there looking around, just seeing what was going on. Anyway, all right. Sorry about that. Give me a second here. I'm just slightly distracted. I got to get rid of my distractions. Oh, bless your heart. Glad you made it in, dear. Good to have you here tonight. Glad to have everybody here. Gosh, first story of the night. Where to begin? Gosh, well, this one's gonna be just. So yesterday, good evening, Mr. Watson, which, by the way, folks, if you did not see it last night, my good friend Christian Watson and I sat down for one of those conversations that we are prone to have. One of these days, we'll actually do it over adult beverages and, fine cigars, assuming that he enjoys both of those things. And if not, no problem either. I'll enjoy it enough for both of everybody. I'll take up Christian's part on the adult beverages and the cigars, so no problem there. So, Professor, if that's not your thing, no big deal. Thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm sure the professor does too. Appreciate that very, very much indeed. I'm not gonna lie to you all, because tonight I'm probably gonna be doing a lot of ranting and raving, and I guess what I'm going through right now as I'm reading the news is just the buildup of frustrations, because it's just like, is there any justice in the world? And I want to start with something that happened late yesterday afternoon, and it had to do with the U.S. House of Representatives. And I want to take you to Hello, Squid. Glad to have you here. Well, I'm glad. Yeah, believe me, I'm going to be ranting tonight. I really will. I want to start out with something that happened on the floor of the U.S. House the other day, and it's sort of been in the wind for a while. And I want to play the video because the video kind of sets up what a lot of people figured would happen, but it's the way it went down. It's just absolutely just got me furious, and I don't really know what to think of all this. So I want to play a video, just a snippet of it, and do me a favor and check this out. Also, if somebody can just let me know if you can hear this, because I have been known to boomer things on occasion. Check this out.
The form of the resolution is as follows. Declaring the office of Speaker of the House of Representatives to be vacant. This is the uniparty for the American people watching.
Well, that was the opening shot. Now, that snippet doesn't really do justice to what happened. There's a lot of things you can say about Marjorie Taylor Greene. And all of them might be equally true. She is a firebrand. She is no nonsense. She is tell it like it is. She is fiercely loyal. She's highly conservative. She's not a person given to compromise, at least by some appearances. Let's put it that way. And she's one tough cookie. Well, she's made it known for quite some time she's not real happy with Speaker Mike Johnson. And after the vote on the foreign aid bill, she more or less laid it down. She's like, look, I've had it. Enough of this. We're going to bring a motion to vacate the chair, just like we did with Kevin McCarthy. And I've had mixed feelings about this. Did I think that she was going to succeed? No. Did I think that we would get a more conservative speaker than Mike Johnson? Well, maybe, but not because of what she was doing, or even if it had succeeded. I think in the end we're going to get one come next year, assuming, of course, that the Republicans hold the House. Okay. But her efforts failed, and that takes us to our next article, which comes from thehill.com, and I want y'all to see this. House blocks Greene's resolution to oust Johnson. An article by Michael Schnell. The House on Wednesday voted overwhelmingly to protect Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican Louisiana, from a conservative coup, torpedoing an effort by Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican of Georgia, to oust the GOP leader from the top job. The chamber voted 359 to 43 to 7 on a motion to table Greene's motion to vacate, preventing the removal resolution from hitting the floor for a vote. The final vote, which was widely expected amid bipartisan opposition to the ouster gambit, dealt a blow to Greene, who filed her measure more than a month ago and had threatened to trigger it ever since, all while heaping sharp criticism on the speaker. Now, I want to stop here for a second and talk about something. I said that little clip that we watched, which ran about maybe 30 seconds, does not really do justice to what Marjorie Taylor Greene did in the run-up to her motion to vacate the chair, because she laid out a very detailed resolution, a bunch of whereases before she ever got to the therefore I move to vacate the chair. And she lays out a very compelling case for why it is that Mike Johnson should be removed. Now, a lot of people would listen to it and go, yeah, well, this is just, in the weeds procedural stuff. It doesn't make that big of a difference. I don't see why she's making such a fuss about this, yada, yada, yada. I disagree. I respectfully disagree. The things that he promised to do, like regular order of the House, in other words, 72 hours once something hits the floor before we take a vote on it, allowing members the time to read it, the rule about the majority of the majority. In other words, if the majority of the Republican conference doesn't support something, we don't even bring it to the floor. He's violated that. He's violated a whole bunch of things that he promised the Republicans he would do if he became Speaker. Now, I back up and I add this caveat. Do I expect every politician to keep their word every time they promise you something? Of course not. We're not dealing with angels here. We're dealing with politicians, okay? So I get it. There are going to be moments they cannot keep their word. The problem with Johnson is, and this to me is where I start ranting about this. What's the difference between the Republicans and the Democrats in Congress, aside from their name? Seriously. And this is where I'm going to start getting wound up on the rant, okay? Here's the wind up. You know, you're supposed to be the opposition party. I mean, if the Democrats and the ideology that they represent is supposedly the majority thinking in Washington, D.C., among the political class, the intelligentsia class, the journalistic class, the high society class or whatever, then that means by default that the Republicans are supposed to be the opposition party. Can somebody please explain to me just what the hell it is they're opposed to? Because I can't figure it out. I really can't. Now, this is not to say every Republican's like this. I think they're genuinely good, well-intentioned people that are trying to do their best to fight back against what is almost seems like sometimes a tidal wave of just crap. And it's names that we've talked about, people that we're all familiar with. I think there's the Jim Jordans. And again, there's some issues he's not real good on. There's the Lauren Boeberts, the Matt Gaetzes, the Paul Gosars, the Andy Biggs, Burchett out of Tennessee, Eli Crane out of Arizona. I mean, they're good, well-intentioned reps up there, okay? Ralph Norman out of South Carolina, Nancy Mace, But by and large, the Republican Party in the House of Representatives is just, I'm sorry, I'm just going to be blunt. They are absolute grade A, 100% all-American made shit. They are useless. Okay? Absolutely useless. And Mike Johnson may be the epitome of maybe the tip of the spear when it comes to uselessness. Okay? We're supposed to be, or at least I've always figured, we're supposed to be offering some kind of a bold contrast to this whatever it is that the Democrats are trying to put forward or get enacted. Or at least I've always thought that. That's what you're supposed to do. I mean, you're the opposition party. Aren't you supposed to oppose? Well, and Seabass, this might be the only thing saving him right now. And I really do believe that. It might be the only thing saving his butt. His otherwise useless butt is the fact that Trump's supporting him. And this is one of those moments. And again, I'm divided in my mind on this one. I know in one sense why Trump's doing it. In another sense, however, when are we finally going to have it out? When are we finally going to have it out that we have an absolute throwdown about what it is that, the Republican Party, if you are a member of it, me, I'm kind of like Will Rogers. I'm not a member of an organized political party. That's why I'm an independent. When are Republicans going to finally have a throwdown about what it is they believe and what it is they're willing to fight and die for politically? Because I mean, if ever there was a time, this is it. Christian Watson and I were talking about this last night in a conversation, which, by the way, if you did not get a chance to see it, I really recommend you go back out on YouTube and Rumble and check it out, because we went around the bend a couple or three times on any number of different subjects. And one of the things we got into was toward the end, it was a question of what do we think that the 2024 election means? And if it is a question about civilization, in other words, what are we, the American people, what is the American experiment in government going to be, then the election of 2024 may be one of the greatest defining moments of how you get to answer that question. Okay. But it can't be resting on the shoulders of one person. It can't be resting on Donald Trump. And that's something else that's pissing me off about the Republicans. You hear it all that, well, we've got this real small majority. Well, we'll just wait till Donald Trump gets back in, yada, yada, yada. Excuse me. You're not useless, or at least you're supposedly not useless. You're useful for something. And the part about we have a small majority, we can't get anything done. Excuse me, I've seen Nancy Pelosi with a 2-member majority push stuff through. What the hell is your problem? You Republicans or Mike Johnson? Well, I can't get my caucus together. She could. Again, what's your problem? So Marjorie Taylor Greene pushes this to the floor. There's a motion made to table her effort, and it got tabled. And the vote went something like this. Now, this to me, and I put this up here because I want everybody to see this. Now, remember back the first motion to vacate that was brought that removed Kevin McCarthy. There were 8 Republicans that voted for it and the entirety of the Democrat caucus. Well, here's how the vote went down on this one. Okay. You had 11 Republicans voting for it. That's cool. 10 of them didn't vote at all. I'd kind of like to know why. What was so important that you couldn't register a vote on this? And the Democrats voted to save Mike Johnson. It's just pure and simple. They voted to save him. And when you stop and think about it, you begin to understand why. I have got to show you a quote that ran, and I don't have the clip, and I wish I did. This is a quote from Hakeem Jeffries. He was interviewed on 60 Minutes the other night. Quote, even though we're in the minority, we are effectively have been governing as if we were in the majority because we continue to provide a majority of the votes necessary to get things done. For all you Republicans out there that are all real happy with Mike Johnson right now and are really just, happy with, the way things are going in Washington, D.C., I want you to think about what Hakeem Jeffries said. Now, I'm going to read this again. Even though we're in the minority, we effectively have been governing as if we were in the majority because we continue to provide a majority of the votes necessary to get things done. He's not right. Yeah, you are absolutely right. You really are. You are absolutely right. Why should the Democrats vote to get rid of Mike Johnson? Mike Johnson's giving them everything they want. Funding for Ukraine, you got it. Funding for Israel in this war with Hamas, you got it. Funding for Taiwan, you got it. New FBI headquarters, you got it. Every priority the Democrats want. Open border, got it. He's giving it to them. He's not lifting a finger. He's not lifting a finger to stop them. He's not. Now, I do want to address something. And Seabass, I saw your comment, so I want to bring she has egg on her face. I agree with you and I disagree with you. It depends on what she was trying to accomplish. Okay? If Marjorie Taylor Greene was genuinely trying, and her only goal in what she did was to get him out, yeah, you're right. She's got egg on her face. I agree with you. Yeah, I agree. I agree. If the goal, on the other hand, is to get everybody on the record, one way or the other, about who's running the house, and maybe the better, let me rephrase it like this: if the goal was to get everybody on the record about who is the speaker, who should be the speaker, and who's voting for the current speaker, then I think she accomplished what she wanted, save a handful of people that didn't even bother to vote. Now, what does she do with it from here? Well, I don't know. I don't know what you do with it from here. Well, maybe it is going down. Maybe it is going down the tubes. I'd hate to think that. I'd like to think it's worth saving. Like to try in my own little way. But yeah, this was disappointing on so many levels. And then to top that off, as if that weren't bad enough. Now, people are going to sit there and say of Marjorie Taylor Greene, well, you did this without a good reason. You're just blowing off steam because you don't like him, and that your buddy Kevin McCarthy got thrown out. No. Let me show you something. Marjorie may have had a good reason. Well, no, not she may have. She did. She had a lot of good reasons. And if you want some proof, let me show you something. This is from Politico. Yeah, okay, I've already got that enlarged. Never mind. Headline: Playbook. Mike Johnson's surprising remarks about Jack Smith. Well, check this out. In this morning's Playbook, we shared a tease from our big interview last night with Speaker Mike Johnson, in which he slammed Joe Biden, with whom he worked hand in hand just weeks before on delivering foreign aid for Israel, for his new policy of withholding that aid to influence how Israel conducts its war. Now, here's the part of that interview that's very telling. The writers at Politico, we'd also like to highlight a couple of newsy tidbits from Johnson, who spoke to us just a few hours after easily surviving Marjorie Taylor Greene's led attempt to remove him as Speaker. He described how he, quote, didn't think they would go through with it after talking with the Georgia Republican and her allies. He talked about how he approached Greene, Representative Thomas Massey, Republican of Kentucky, and Representative Paul Gosar, Republican of Arizona, on the floor afterwards to make peace. I said, I don't hold grudges, and I'm not angry about this, Johnson said. We have to work together, and I want to work with you guys and those ideas we were talking about. I'm still working on them, so I hope that we can put this behind us and move forward. But in one of his more provocative remarks, Johnson went in depth on what exactly he discussed with Greene and company, particularly their demand to defund special counsel Jack Smith as part of the appropriations process. He essentially called their effort to target Donald Trump's chief prosecutor unworkable. Quote, that's not something you wave a wand and just eliminate the special counsel as a provision, the former constitutional law attorney explained. There is a necessity for a function like that because sometimes the Department of Justice in an executive branch agency can't necessarily, without a conflict of interest, investigate or prosecute the president, who's their boss, or the president's family. So Politico followed up and asked, so are you prepared to write language eliminating Smith's job into the appropriations bills? His answer, no. While Johnson might be correct that targeting Smith is much easier said than done, his candor on this topic could land crosswise with Trump, who played a major role in holding off a GOP coup and offered measured support for the speaker yesterday. Now, I bring this up to say the following. I mentioned very early on at the beginning of this that Marjorie Taylor Greene gave a long list of reasons in her speech before she made the formal motion to the chair, gave a long list of reasons why Mike Johnson needed to be removed as Speaker of the House. Well, let's pull back on this and examine this for a second. Let me be fair and ask it this way. Is Mike Johnson correct that it would be harder to get rid of Jack Smith by pulling his appropriated money than people are talking about? Well, maybe, but from the perspective of people like me and others, could you at least not try? How about a little bit of effort here, Mike? How about trying to help out? How about trying to do something that supports the leader of your party? I mean, why not try and find a way? At least explore the option. Can you not at least do that? Well, it's kind of difficult and it's easier said than done. Yada yada. How about you fight for something, Mike? How about you Republicans up there on Capitol Hill? How about you fight for something? Your presidential nominee is getting tied up in a courtroom up in New York City. And only today, did any Republican member of the Congress, House or Senate, go up there and speak to the press. That was Rick Scott of Florida. I give him credit for that. I mean, if Trump's got a gag order on him that he can't talk about any of this stuff, at least somebody ought to be out there talking to the press. But to the best of my knowledge, at this point, Senator Rick Scott of Florida is the only person that's gone up there and actually tried to do something to help. So, Mike, you wonder why people are frustrated with you and Republicans in the House, why people feel like, what's the point of reelecting you guys? You don't do anything. Here's a perfect example of it. You won't even lift a finger to even explore the effort or the question, hey, can we pull this off? Can we get Jack Smith defunded to the point he can't do this stuff anymore? I mean, look, lay aside what you think about Donald Trump. Okay. There are good arguments that have been brought that Jack Smith's position is not even constitutional in that the Congress didn't even appoint him to this. The case he's bringing is insane. He's doing stuff that Eileen Cannon down in Miami is finally like, okay, I've had enough. This trial's not going forward until you could explain to me your actions and why you did them. That's what this set of hearings coming up in part is meant to answer, to the judge's satisfaction or not satisfaction, as the case may be, depending on how they answer this. You got a rogue prosecutor out there in Jack Smith, and you Republicans in the House, you won't lift a finger to do anything about it. So I asked the question, and not just to you, but to voters across America and all over the internet who are watching this, why should anybody vote to put these guys back in the majority? I'm serious. There's no difference. Makes no difference. It doesn't matter. If I get the Democrats in the majority, at least I know what I'm going to get. I know what they're going to try and do. They're not hiding their intentions. They're telling everybody what they want to do, and they will try to do it. If I put the Republicans in the majority, I'm just getting a slower version of it. So why should anybody, Mike Johnson, Tom Emmer, Steve Scalise, all you people in leadership in the House Republican caucus, I'm serious about this. Why should anybody bother to vote for you? You don't fight for us. You will sit there and go prattle on all day like old men in a barber shop or old women in a beauty parlor. But you won't do anything. Oh, it's terrible what the Democrats are doing. I can't believe this is such a violation of the norms of the Congress and rule of law. Well, then do something about it. You pansies, get off your asses and do something. Did Marjorie Taylor Greene fail yesterday? I'm not so sure. If the objective was to actually get him out, yeah. If the objective is to show everybody one more time who's really serious about what's going on, then I think she accomplished a lot. And then to top all that, to put the cherry on top of that cake, Gypsy sent me this, and God bless her for it. This is from Breitbart. Mike Johnson plots revenge and retaliation against Republicans who vote against the Democrat agenda. Check this out. You won't be shocked. You won't be shocked, but it just makes you shake your head and go, why? From Bradley J. Speaker Mike Johnson supports retaliating against Republicans who oppose him. He reportedly told high-dollar donors at a swanky Four Seasons event in Washington, D.C. Johnson signaled to the high-powered group at a fundraiser on Sunday that he would support kicking members who blocked his coalition government's legislative agenda off committees. He also said he's in favor of changing House rules, such as the rules on the motion to vacate at the end of the Congress. His remarks come as Marjorie Taylor Greene gets ready to trigger a vote this week on her motion to vacate the chair, the same procedural motion that ousted Kevin McCarthy from the speakership last October. Johnson announced she would force the vote after what Thomas Massie calls Johnson's three betrayals. Specifically, Johnson ended work being done to pass each of the 12 appropriations bills and passed a two-part omnibus overwhelmingly supported by Democrats, rammed through the reauthorization of FISA after casting the deciding vote to kill a warrant requirement, and carried out a scheme to unlock tens of billions in Ukraine aid despite promising not to do so without addressing the border crisis. So great. He survives, and now he's going to go after people. Oh, I don't hold grudges. Oh, really? 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 Let's go back to that article for a second. From Breitbart. Hang on a minute. I got to find this. I told you I was going to be ranting tonight. Sorry, folks. I've had it. I have just had it. This is one of those nights you're catching me in just the right mood. Breitbart's playing havoc with me here. Anyway. So yeah, that's the first of what's going on. The first of my rants for the evening. Just unbelievable. It really is. Well, it's the top of the hour. It's 8 o'clock. My name is Brian Tripp, and I am the Front Porch Conservative. This is Chattin' on the Porch. We've almost made it to the weekend version of reviewing things in the news. We're so glad to have you with us. We're on YouTube. We're on Rumble. We are on Twitter. So glad to have you here. And this next one. Okay, hang on a minute. I got to shut some windows. So Joe Biden gives an interview on CNN last night with Aaron Burnett. And there is a 2.5-minute clip that has been floating around the internet. And the first time I saw this, I got mad, and I was screaming at the computer screen. I'm not going to lie about it. I was just that PO'd. And if y'all follow my Twitter page, you saw a tweet that I put out there the other night. And I want to play you this. This is 2.5 minutes. And I will give Aaron Burnett of CNN credit. She asked him a really good question. It's his answer to it that is so infuriating and anger-provoking. So that sets it up. I will stop this where I think I need to, but y'all, do me a favor and check this out.
So when you talk about the economy, of course, it is by far the most important issue for voters. It's also true right now, Mr. President, that voters by a wide margin trust Trump more on the economy They say that in polls.
I know.
And
Look at the look on his face when she's asking this. He almost looks irritated. Let me see if I can enlarge that a little bit. Hang on. A little too much. Okay, there we go. That's better. So just look at the expression on his face. We continue.
part of the reason for that may be the numbers, and you're aware of many of these, of course. The cost of buying a home in the United States is double what it was when you look at your monthly costs from before the pandemic. Real income, when you account for inflation, is actually down since you took office. Economic growth last week, far short of expectations. Consumer confidence, maybe no surprise, is near a 2-year low. With less than 6 months to go to Election Day, are you worried that you're running out of time to turn that around?
Okay, before we go any further, I first of all, I did not watch the whole interview. Okay, I'll tell you that up front. But that said, I give Erin Burnett a whole lot of credit. Okay, a whole lot of credit. She asked a really good question, but more important than that, she confronted him with incontrovertible facts that cannot be denied. The price of renting an apartment or a house has almost doubled since Joe Biden's got in. The inflation rate was 1.4% in January 2021, and it's still exceedingly high right now. Everything she confronted him with, okay, everything, absolutely true and totally factual. So on that moment of the interview, I give Erin Burnett a ton of credit. I really do. I mean, I've always said when somebody does good work, I don't care if it's Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, I don't care. You know, when you're doing good work, I will gladly, point it out. And I think in this moment, Erin Burnett did. Now, I want you to listen to everything that Joe Biden drops in here. Because this stuff is, look, I want to hear your comments in chat. I really do. You can agree with him, disagree with him, fine. Me, I'm going to warn you now, I'm probably going to go off. And with that said, here we go.
We've already turned around. Look at the Michigan survey.
Wait. You've turned around what? I want to back that up. Listen to her question.
Are you worried that you're running out of time
Here we go. Hang on.
to go to Election Day? Are you worried that you're running out of time to turn that around?
We've already turned around. Look at the Michigan survey. For 65% of American people think they're in good shape economically. They think they're...
Whoa. Huh? What? We've already turned it around? We've already turned it around? Look at the Michigan survey of consumer sentiment. Oh, really? Really? Okay. All right. Let's just hold that thought for a second because I want to go find something real fast. Hang on. Yeah. And Robert, I saw your comment. Okay. You're probably right. You're probably right. But you know what? Given how badly they perform, when they even do the bare minimum, I'm willing to applaud. Oh, I've got to find if, and I can put my hands on this real fast. Hang on one second, folks. Because I saw something posted from Rich Barris earlier today, and so he says that look at the Michigan Index of Consumer Sentiment. Okay, All right. Well, all right. That's fine. And let's see. Wants me to check that out, huh? All right. And da, 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 da. Oh, come on. I know I had this, and I know I saw this. Wait a second. Hang on. I'm not losing my mind. Yeah, it's 11:4. Okay. All right. Hang on. Just about got it. Anyway, he makes the statement that somehow we've turned this around. Absolutely crazy. Um, Consumer sentiment is absolutely horrible. It truly is. And the argument that somehow says, "Oh yeah, it's getting better. Looks great. Looks absolutely wonderful." Bull. I thought I was going to be able to put my hands on what I'm looking for real quick. Yeah, we turned it around. Consumer confidence is not anything like he's describing. Okay, but back to this insane. I want to back this up. Sorry for this, but I've got to play it.
Far short of expectations. Consumer confidence, maybe no surprise, is near a 2-year low.
And again, she's citing the statistic correctly. Okay, consumer sentiment is at a 2-year low.
With less than 6 months to go to Election Day, are you worried that you're running out of time to turn that around?
We've already turned it around. Look at the Michigan survey. For 65% of the American people think they're in good shape economically. They think the nation's not in good shape, but they're personally in good shape.
I have a question for you, my audience. I would like a show of some response in the chat. How many of y'all think that your economic conditions are good? And if you don't want to answer that, that's perfectly fine. But when you consider the price that you have to pay for groceries, when you consider the price you have to pay for gasoline, for clothes, for just the basic necessities of life, do you really think that your life is good? You know, oh, the country may not be that good, but I'm okay. I'm doing fine. That's Joe's argument. Again, I want to play this. This is gaslighting of the worst sort. It really is. It is just absolute horrible.
Look at the Michigan survey. For 65% of the American people think they're in good shape economically. They think the nation's not in good shape, but they're personally in good shape. The polling data has been wrong all along.
Really? Which polling data is that, Joe?
How many you guys do a poll with CNN? How many folks you have to call to get one response? The idea that we're in a situation where things are so bad, the folks that, I mean, we've created more jobs. We're in a situation where people have access to good paying jobs.
Oh, really? If the jobs are so good, Joe, how come people are having to work 2 or 3 of them just to keep up the same standard of living that they had under Donald Trump? Look, I'm not here trying to, kiss Trump's rear end, not by the slightest margin. Okay, but it is demonstrably true. The economy overall was in better shape under Donald Trump than it was under you. Yeah, they've got access to good paying jobs. Yeah, if you work 3 of them all at the same time. I saw a guy the other day, and I'm not going to mention any names. It was on a live stream that I always watch first thing in the morning. It's kind of my get me through the morning sort of thing. And nice guy. His full-time thing is streaming. He does, DJ. He works as a DJ sometimes at special events. He, co-hosts on that particular show. He's got his own show. Guy's working by his own admission 2 or 3 different jobs. Okay. With a whole bunch of health problems, really bad health problems. But the other day, somebody, I mean, and it was one of those moments where the poor guy broke down and somebody said something and it was intended as a jest, as a jab. Okay. And the poor guy snapped during the live stream to the point that his co-host, they just shut it down for the day. Okay. So this argument, oh yeah, people have access to good paying jobs. Yeah, if you want to work 3 of them to keep the same standard that you had before you got into office. But let us continue with this profound wisdom from our president. It was a Christian, no one you would know. I don't care to share his name. His name's Johnny. He's a co-host on a live stream called Still Toe Morning Show. I don't know if you had any familiar with him, but yeah, I mean, yeah, that's who it happened to. You know, I mean, I listened to the show just for pure stupid fun. That's what these guys are. And this one guy, the co-host, he just had a moment where he just broke down because someone made a comment that was intended as a joke, and it caught him the wrong way. And he just started talking about everything he's going through, and I just felt horrible for the guy. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Robert. Exactly. They're calling it the side hustle. Well, why should you have to have side hustles if the economy is so good? Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's legitimate reasons why people, work a second job. I get it. But the argument that says that, people are doing it now, because the economy no, they're doing it to try to keep the same standard of living they had before this guy got into office. But anyway, let's get back to it.
And the last I saw, the combination of the inflation, the cost of inflation, all those things, that's really worrisome to people with good reason. That's why I'm working very hard to bring the cost of rentals down, to increase the number of homes that are available. Let me say it this way. When I started this administration, people were saying there's going to be a collapse in the economy. We have the strongest economy in the world. Let me say it again, in the world.
Does anybody believe this? I mean, to me, to make the argument that from him that we've got the strongest economy in the world, that's like saying, oh, well, our economy is the strongest in the world. Okay, so our economy's crap and everybody else is even shittier. I mean, this is your argument. I've made crap out of his economy, and I've made crap out of the economy, but the world's worse off than we are. Now y'all understand why I'm getting mad? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse. Check this out.
Although GDP last week was far short of expectations.
Oh, it wasn't. Look, GDP is still growing. Look at the response of the markets.
Wait a minute. I can answer this one. GDP came in at like about 1.5%. Okay. It was below expectations. I want to back that up because, Aaron Burnett gives him a straight, legitimate right back in your face.
GDP last week was far short of expectations.
Oh, it wasn't. Look.
This is not. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Pathological liar. Gypsy, you are absolutely right. I don't think this man would know the truth if it came up and kissed him. Of course, I don't know why it would. But anyway, let us continue.
GDP is still growing. Look at the response of the markets. Overwhelmingly positive. Overwhelmingly positive. And one of the reasons why people feel good about it not being as strong as it was before is they believe that the Fed's going to respond.
They hope they're going to get a rate cut.
Yeah. Well,
they're hoping they get a rate cut to get some relief from the interest rates that are eating them alive right now because they're having to dip into credit cards to help keep up with their standard of living because they're not making enough money under this current economy because the money that they are making is being eaten alive by inflation. You jackass. Oh my God. That, you remember the expression that I use? Don't piss down my back and try and convince me it's raining. He's pissing down my back. He's pissing down the back of the American people. It's exactly what the gaslighting, propagandizing, whatever you want to call it, baby, you need a perfect example of it. This is it. Let's continue.
So, but I mean, no president's had the run we've had in terms of creating jobs and bringing down inflation. It was 9%.
What did you say? No president has had the run of job creation and bringing down inflation? Really? Come again with that.
The run we've had in terms of creating jobs and bringing down inflation was 9% when I came to office.
That is a damned lie. That is an absolute damned lie. One moment, folks. I can't let this one go. No, I'm not letting this one go. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not doing it. Hang on, I got to find this real fast. Was trying to put this together before I got here and I just ran out of time. But yeah, it was 9% when I came into office. That is an absolute damned lie. Absolutely ridiculous. 1.4%. That's what it was. 1.4%. Just unbelievable in this guy. Yeah, here it is. Hang on, I just found it. From Breitbart. This is an article by Ian Hatchett. And I want to go to, here it is. Take a look at this, folks. The CPI inflation reading for January 2021 when Biden was sworn into office and on December 2020, the month before, were both 1.4%. And if you really want something to back that up, here it is. Here's the news release from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, dated January 13, 2021, exactly 1 week before Joe Biden was sworn into office. Do not sit there, Mr. President, and try and tell me inflation was 9% when I can damn well pull up the evidence and see for myself you are lying through your false freaking teeth. You gaslighting gasbag. You are lying to the American people. You're not misinformed. You didn't forget your facts. You are lying. Straight up, flat out lying. How dare you? How dare you? Who the hell do you think you are to try and convince everybody, oh, everything's wonderful. Everything's great. We've turned everything around. Look at the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index. People, 65% of the country thinks everything, their personal incomes are fine. They think the country's got a problem, but they're okay. Inflation was 9% when I came in. You lying piece of garbage. You gas bag. Oh, ugh. Good evening, sir. I'm ranting. I'm sorry. I'm just pissed as hell. I watched this clip last night, and the more I watched, the more I got mad. But lest you think it stops there, it gets better. It gets even better. Check this out.
9%. But look, people have a right to be concerned. Ordinary people. The idea that
ordinary people. What, somehow you're above it all? Oh, I forgot. You're the president. That's right. You're the guy who's got his cocaine-addled son out there bringing in 10% for the big guy. Of course you're not ordinary people. You've got an arrangement set up already. What was I thinking? I'm so sorry. We continue.
You bounce a check and you get a $30 fee for bouncing the check. I change that. You can't charge more than $8 for that.
He's sitting here saying it's a great accomplishment on his part that people don't have to pay higher bank fees for NSFs, for non-sufficient fund fees at banks. Well, Joe, the last time I checked, that fee is altogether avoidable if you actually know what's in your checking account and you don't overspend it. Thank you so very much for helping me avoid something that I can very well do on my own without you. Oh my God, give this man the Nobel Peace Prize. Give him the award for economics. I don't care. Give him something. He's brilliant. Baby. This is just, he's gaslighting. For the love of God, he's gaslighting everyone. Blatantly lying, gaslighting everyone, trying to convince me that everything is perfect, and I know it's not. You absolute. Oh. All right, let's continue. In 3, 2, 1.
Or your credit card, your late payment, $35. I mean, there's corporate greed going on out there. And
Really? Corporate greed, you say? Oh my goodness. Oh my, wow. I hadn't thought about that. Hey, Joe, can you give me some examples of corporate greed?
it's got to be dealt with.
That, oh, I can't with this man. I said this the other night in a tweet, and I will say it again tonight. And this comment is directed to Americans who are not necessarily political like me and maybe a lot of people in this audience, okay? Y'all out there do not think about politics all the time. That's fine. Thank God. You're normal. I, on the other hand, am a weirdo. I follow this stuff all the time. So if my hair's turning gray and there's not a lot of it left on my head because of the fact that I've pulled my hair out from listening to idiots like this over the past decades, you can understand my situation, okay? But I want to ask y'all who are not, wait a minute. Hang on. Oh, Lutch. Thank you, dude. Thank you. That is extremely kind of you. Thank you for pointing this out. I genuinely appreciate that. All right. I want to ask y'all who are not necessarily, regular watchers of American politics. Maybe you tune in a few weeks before the election, then you get a beat on who you want to vote for and everything else. I want to ask you all a question, and then this is not meant to be insulting to you in any way, shape, or form, because I know you've got lives, you got other priorities in your life, and that's cool. But I want to ask you this question. Y'all know what you've got to deal with, okay? You know the bag of hammers that you're carrying around, okay? You know your financial situations. Maybe you're lucky enough that you only have to work one job. Maybe you're working 2. Maybe you're working 3. Maybe you're working more than that. Your rent keeps going up. The cost of food becomes harder and harder to pay for. When you go to the gas pump, gasoline's costing you more and more all the time, which, by the way, I got bad news for all y'all. Joe Biden is just about drained the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which means that the price of gas, on top of the normal summer driving season that's coming up, it's going to go higher, okay? So y'all know what y'all are dealing with out there, you non-political observers of live streams like mine and my good buddy, the Indian Jesus, and others, and Christian Watson streams, and all of us out here. Okay, be we large or small live streamers, y'all know what y'all are dealing with. You just for 2.5 minutes had the President of the United States tell you that everything that you know to be true in your life, you're lying to yourself. Let me say that again. For 2.5 minutes, the President of the United States told you who are experiencing the realities of your life, that you don't know what's going on in your own life, and you haven't got the good sense to realize just how good you've got it. How does that make you feel? A man who will never walk a mile in your shoes is telling you how good your shoes feel, and you ought to be thankful you've got them on your feet. As opposed to you, who knows how bad it feels to walk in them, who knows the steps you have to walk, who knows the burdens you carry while you're walking those steps. The President of the United States is trying to convince you that everything's just great and golden and everything's glorious. How does that make you feel? Oh, come on, Front Porch. He's no different than any other politician. No. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. This man has been the steward of the American economy for now almost 4 years. In that time, inflation has gone way higher than what we're normally used to dealing with. The cost of gasoline's gone higher. The cost of groceries has gone higher. The cost of clothing, the cost of everything else, thanks to inflation. We are sending money all over the world, supposedly in the name of democracy. Our southern border is wide the hell open to the point multi-millions of people are crossing it. We have no idea who the hell they are. They're ransacking and ravaging through our neighborhoods. Women and children are being killed. Lake and Riley, just to give you one example. And he's sitting here trying to convince you that everything's just great and glorious and golden. Everything's wonderful. How does that make you feel? He's pissing down your back and trying to convince you that it's raining. And maybe it's better to say he's pissing on you and trying to convince you, oh, I'm not pissing on you. It's just raining. And people wonder why it is that I get mad. I mean, I've watched this guy for years. Okay. Not that I'm the ultimate eagle eye expert on everything Joe Biden's ever done in his political life, but I've watched him long enough to know, first of all, he's a liar. Second of all, he's an idiot. Third, he's arrogant. Now, unfortunately, number 4, he has power, real power, beyond the power of a U.S. senator, beyond the power of a vice president. He has the ultimate form of political power in this country. And with it, he is making the lives of my fellow Americans and myself as miserable as we've had it in a very long time. And as he's doing that, he's trying to convince you that his making you miserable is for your own good and that you'll enjoy it. I'm sorry, I don't. Not now, not ever. Don't sit there and lie to me and then try and tell me everything's great and golden. So you begin to understand why I'm ranting tonight. It's moments like that just piss me the hell off. Sorry, folks. And for those of you who are on the who are regular audience members of the Indian Jesus, my apologies to you. Yeah, here's a really good point. We've had economic downturns in this country, and for some people, my friend up in Connecticut here, back in 2008 when the housing crisis got happened, she got laid off, but it wasn't as bad as it is right now. Yeah, here's a good point. Paid more in federal income taxes than everything else in the last 4 years. Absolutely. So yeah, y'all can. Do you begin to understand now why I'm screaming at the computer screen watching that interview? That was a 2.5 minute snippet of it, and I was pissed as hell. Ugh. Anywho, Well, gosh, okay, I'm sorry, I gotta pull myself together here. It is 8:40 on Thursday evening. We've almost made it to the weekend. Welcome to the Thursday night edition of Chatting on the Porch. My name is Brian Trippett, your red-faced front porch conservative. Sorry, I'm trying to get myself wound down here. We are on YouTube, we're on Rumble, we're on Twitter, we're looking at items in the news, and I'd like if y'all are trying to keep your blood pressure down, I tell you what, you can live vicariously through me because tonight I will be everybody's blood pressure increaser, valve turner, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so if you want to vent, just vent through me. We're on, like I said, we're on YouTube, we're on Rumble, and a special thank you to my good buddy Lutch over there on the Indian Jesus channel, who's who's simulcasting us. I've never had this done before, so Lutch, I genuinely appreciate it, brother. Good to see you and good to hear from you. I appreciate you, popping in and letting people watch me rant. Although I'm going to look back on this live stream and go, oh, maybe I should have toned it down a little bit. Well. Although I don't think that's going to happen, especially when we get into our next story. You remember a few weeks ago that the House of Representatives passed a foreign aid bill, and part of that gave about $15 billion to Israel in its fight against Hamas after what happened on October 7th. Okay, fine. Well, yesterday, during that wonderful interview with Aaron Burnett on CNN, Joe Biden dropped a pearl of wisdom that in doing so has absolutely set off official Washington and the American people, and I've got a lot to say about this. I'm going to play the clip. So do me a favor and check this out.
I made it clear that if they go into Rafah, they haven't gone into Rafah yet.
Talking about the Israelis.
If they go into Rafah, I'm not supplying the weapons that have been used historically to deal with Rafah, to deal with the cities, to deal with that problem. We're going to continue to make sure Israel is secure in terms of Iron Dome and their ability to respond to attacks like came out of the Middle East recently. But it's just wrong. We're not going to supply the weapons and the artillery shells used that have been used.
Artillery shells as well.
Yeah, artillery shells.
Oh boy. Now, if you're wondering what is being referred to here, let me take you to an article from Politico written by John Lemire and Jennifer Habercorn. Joe Biden said Wednesday he would halt shipments of bombs and other munitions to Israel if it launched a major military invasion in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. The warning comes as Israeli forces appear poised to conduct more operations in the densely packed city of 1.7 million, despite repeated warnings not to do so by the U.S. government. Quote, I made it clear that if they go into Rafah, they haven't gone in yet, but if they go into Rafah, I'm not supplying the weapons that have been used historically to deal with Rafah, to deal with the cities that deal with that problem. The statement was the clearest conditioning of aid with the administration has made since the start of Israel's war with Gaza, and it immediately sent ripples through national politics, with conservatives accusing the president of abandoning a long-held ally and some liberals hailing the pronouncement. Biden has steadfastly supported Israel since Hamas's attack on October 7th, and in a speech this week affirmed U.S. support while warning of a ferocious rise in anti-Semitism. Okay, I'm just going to do this for everybody. First of all, if the government of the United States makes a decision that it will give military aid to a country, all right, we can have a debate about that long and loud. God knows we should, because we're giving another nation the ability to kill. All right? And I'm not trying to be Pollyanna about this, but let's just be honest. We voted $14 billion, and a lot of that money, if given in the form of weaponry to the nation of Israel, will afford them the opportunity to kill other human beings. Now, you can be on any side of this conflict you want to. That's fine. I may not agree with you, but that's your position. But we made the decision to support Israel, okay? And again, I got problems with what Netanyahu's doing on certain levels here, all right? Self-defense against Hamas is one thing. opening up a potential region-wide war is an entirely other issue, and if we're not careful, we're going to get sucked right into it, okay? But laying that aside, the government of the United States made the decision. We're going to give $14 billion to Israel to help them in their war with Hamas. Okay, I'm sorry. On one hand, you cannot say, we're going to give you this money. On the other hand, say, oh, but you can only use it for this. How would it have been for the American Revolution if the French, who were supporting us financially against Great Britain, said, well, okay, we're going to give you ships, and we're going to give you troops, and we're going to give you flintlocks, and we're going to give you cannon and powder and everything else, but you can only use it here. You can only use it around Philadelphia. You can't use it down in the South, etc. You see my point? Don't sit there and try and have it both ways, Joe. You can't sit there on the one hand and say, hey, I'm supporting Israel. I'm giving them military aid. But you can't use it only in certain respects. Hey, Joe, either you're gonna give Israel support or not. Now, again, you can say giving them the support is right or wrong. That's fine. I got no problem with that. But you sitting here trying to pull the strings in an election year, might I add, in an election year, I'm sorry, is just flat wrong. I mean, I'm trying to figure out which group of voters are you trying to get back in good graces with? Are you trying to get back in with the Palestinians, or are you trying to get back in with certain aspects of the Israeli population here in the United States? Which one is it, Joe? Why do I have a feeling that you're trying to get in good with the voters in New York State, Michigan, Minnesota, and a handful of other places around the country? Who are you trying to suck up to this time, Joe? Now, by the by, old Joe, see, there's a blessing and a curse to being in American politics for as long as you have been, particularly in the case of Joe Biden, because there are moments when what you have said will come back to bite you in the butt. Folks, do me a favor. This was from back in 2019. That was around the time of the question of, what to do about Israeli settlements. Do me a favor and check this out. This is an interview with Judy Woodruff of PBS.
News this week to the extent that some of the Democrats are saying that if, because of Israel's settlement policy, that they would look at cutting off military aid to Israel as a result of that.
That'd be a tragic mistake. I strongly oppose Israel's settlement policy on the West Bank. I've made that clear to Bibi when I was vice president. I made it crystal clear to the Israelis. But the idea that we would cut off military aid to an ally, our only true ally in the entire region, is absolutely preposterous. It's just beyond my comprehension. Anyone would do that.
Unless, of course, you're running for re-election and you got a serious problem with your Palestinian vote inside the Democrat Party. I mean, it's bad enough what Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, and other people inside the administration are doing, talking out both sides of their mouth on this thing. Okay? Now, look, I've said before and I'll say again, I got a problem with certain things that Netanyahu is doing in all this. All right? But you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. You don't get to say to the American people, hey, we're going to give $14 billion of your money to the Israeli government to help them defend themselves. We're going to give them arms, we're going to give them munitions, and then tell them how to do it. When all you're really doing is trying to play a very elaborate game. And the reality is you're not supporting Israel. You're trying to get back in the good graces of Palestinian Americans. You're trying to get their vote in November. I mean, let's just be honest about this. This is blatant politics. This has nothing to do with the survival of Israel as a nation. This has nothing to do with the Palestinian people in Gaza. This has to do with voters in the United States. And Joe Biden knows he's underwater. I've got a bad feeling. I've got a really bad feeling that this may very well wind up being Joe Biden's Prince John moment. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I want to take you back in world history to Great Britain. Prince John was on the throne in England in his brother Richard's absence. John had everybody in the country mad at him. I mean, literally everybody. Okay? The nobles were upset with him because John kept laying down taxes, and the nobles had no say whatsoever in the taxes, whether they should happen, shouldn't happen, etc. Okay? The peasants weren't happy with Prince John because he was getting into it with the Roman Catholic Church. So John's solution to the whole problem was, okay, I've got the nobles on one side upset with me. I've got the peasants on the other side upset with me. What am I going to do? I'll tell you what he did. He tried to give the nation of England to the Roman Catholic Church as a fiefdom. I kid you not. The entire sovereign nation of Great Britain would have been turned over to the Roman Catholic Church as a fiefdom for the Pope to rule over. It was at that point the nobles said, that is enough. And they forced John to meet them in a field outside London where they drafted what became known as Magna Carta. Now, do I think we're going to have some kind of a Magna Carta moment here? Not necessarily, but my point is this. Joe is he's doing his best not to piss off both sides, and the longer he goes in this whole question of U.S. involvement in the Middle East, he's pissing off both sides. On the one hand, he's pissing off the Palestinians because of his supposed support for Israel, and on the other side, he's pissing off Jewish voters in America with stunts like this. He's got everybody mad at him. You ain't wrong about this, sister. You are not wrong at all. And to tell you how bad it's gotten, a lot of people were watching that interview last night on CNN, and one of them was Jonah Goldberg. Used to be with the National Review. And Jonah Goldberg is no Trump supporter. He is one of the most vocal and virulent never-Trumpers coming or going. But I want you to see this tweet. Now, I'm making an assumption here. I'm going to tell you that up front. I'm making an assumption that he's talking about Biden's interview on CNN. But if he is, look at this. For what it's worth, I've heard from a lot of reliably anti-Trump people. I mean, really, really anti-Trump people who have had it with Biden tonight. Anecdotal, to be sure, but very telling in my circle. You know what? I'm not surprised by this. How, and Goldberg goes on to explain more specifically what he's referring to further into this stream of comments. But he says it best a little later on in this tweet thread. How many different mistakes does Joe Biden have to make before you're finally to the point? It's like, I can't do it anymore. I just can't do it. And I think that's where we're getting to in America. It may not be showing up in the polls yet, but I think we're getting there. Inflation, the southern border, foreign policy, Ukraine, Israel, all of it. Everybody has reached the point. It's like, what have we got to do to get rid of this guy, politically speaking? Okay, let me be very careful here, lest the YouTube overlords try to But you get my point? And by the by, I have a question. How is this not a quid pro quo? Does this whole thing with Israel sound a little familiar? It does to me. Did it sound maybe something like this?
And I went over, I guess, the
12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time.
I guess the only difference between back then and now is Joe could make money off of it. No, wait a minute. I take that back. I do take that back. There is one advantage that Joe Biden can get for himself by what he's doing to Israel right now. He may not be able to get money, but he damn sure can get votes. And that's how Joe Biden is advantaging himself in all of this. Oh, goodness. Like I say, my apologies to all y'all. I'm coming in here in a sour mood watching all this news and just, yeah, sorry about that. Just absolutely, blech, bleh. Oh, goodness. Okay. Tell you what, let's wrap it up with some nightcap news. It's about 9 o'clock on Thursday night. And we're on YouTube, we're on Rumble, we're on Twitter. My name is Brian Trippett. I'm the Front Porch Conservative. If you're not subscribed to my channel and you're watching this, do me a favor and give me a sub on YouTube and Rumble. I'd really appreciate it. I'd really appreciate the subs. I would. Times have been a little tough as far as growing my channels, especially on YouTube. So if you're not a subscriber, I genuinely appreciate the sub. Let's wrap it up with some nightcap news, some smaller items that maybe didn't make it above the fold, so to speak, and just let you guys take a look at this. Check this one out. Remember that other case up in New York State about Trump and his businesses and whether or not he would, had done the banks dirty and all that good stuff? Well, turns out Judge Arthur Engoron, who we refer to here on the electronic front porch as Engoron the Moron, may have gotten some extrajudicial help in terms of forming his decision about what to do with regard to Mr. Trump and the Trump organization. This ran the other night on NBC News out of New York. It's a story on their website, which they ran in video format. It's by Melissa Russo and Jonathan Dienst. And the headline is, high-profile New York lawyer says he tried to advise judge in Trump civil fraud case. Engoron said he was, quote, wholly uninfluenced. A high-profile New York real estate lawyer whose law license was once suspended said he approached the judge presiding over Donald Trump's civil fraud case to offer unsolicited advice about a law at issue in the case. Attorney Adam Leitman Bailey made the claim during an interview with NBC News New York, saying he spoke to Judge Arthur Engoron 3 weeks prior to the judge's February decision to fine the former president $454 million for falsely inflating the value of his assets. The judge, through a court spokesman, I should say, denied impropriety and said he was wholly uninfluenced by Mr. Bailey. New York's judicial oversight body has now launched an investigation into the alleged interaction, according to sources familiar with the matter. Quote, I actually had the ability to speak with him 3 weeks ago, Bailey said during an on-camera interview with NBC News New York on February 16th, the day the judge's decision was due. I saw him in the corner at the courthouse, and I told my client I need to go. I walked over and we started talking. I wanted him to know what I think and why, and I really wanted him to get it right. Oh, really? NBC News New York asked a spokesman for Engoron whether the judge had spoken with Bailey about any legal issues surrounding the Trump civil fraud matter and whether the alleged interaction had been appropriate. Quote, no ex parte communication concerning this matter occurred between Judge Engoron Justice Engoron and Mr. Bailey or any other person. The decision Justice Engoron issued at February 16th was his alone, was deeply considered and wholly uninfluenced by this individual, said Al Baker, spokesman for the New York State Attorney of Court Administration, in a written statement. Now, I have a quick question. Quick question for y'all. Let us assume for a moment that Engoron the moron is right in that he was not overtly influenced. Listen to what this lawyer said. I wanted him talking about Engoron. I wanted Engoron to know what I, Bailey, think and why I, Bailey, really want him to get it right. You're trying to convince me that this judge, who does not, by all accounts, is no expert in New York real estate law or other matters before the court, is not normally something he would take up. You're trying to convince me that this lawyer's comments had no influence whatsoever on Engoron's decision. Uh-huh. Right. Yeah. Yep. I tell you what, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If ever there was a time for reforms to the New York judicial system, by George, it's right now. And small time, you are absolutely right. Anyone could talk about a Trump case to anyone at any time, except, of course, if it's Trump. Jeez. Oh, what else have we got? Oh, well, speaking of matters legal, I think the mainstream media is now starting to realize lawfare's not working. Now, if you think that I'm just, blowing off steam here and giving you my opinion for what it's worth, let me play you a clip from MSNBC. This was interesting. The host asked a couple of her panelists. One of them is Mark McKinnon, who, by the way, is a Republican consultant, and a fairly colorful one, might I add. I kind of like his style. However, you're going to see in this clip, he's copying something off of me, which, okay, I don't mind being a fashion influencer, but dude, come on. This is just too blatant. So do me a favor, check this out, and listen very carefully to what Mark McKinnon has to say.
Delay, delay, delay. In Florida, delayed indefinitely. Now, Georgia, it has been a rough few days for Jack Smith and Fani Willis. Mark, do you think we are going to see any progress here before the election and after the election? Do you think these trials are ever going to happen?
Well, I don't know. But I mean, the key question is anything going to happen before the election? And I think the answer is no. The days of magical legal thinking are over. The cavalry is not coming. The legal cavalry is not coming to the rescue of Joe Biden.
Delay.
Yeah. I think that Mark McKinnon is absolutely right. Look, I'm not, and by the way, I will give him credit. He's trying really hard here, but let's be honest. When Rod Stewart wrote that song, You Wear It Well, let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen, he was prophesying a future when you would get the opportunity to gaze upon something that looks like this. And I hope that you all were wearing, boots when I dropped that comment. Yes, I do, by George. Yes, I do. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. One more thing, and we'll wrap it up for the night. Bless your heart, dear. Mwah, love you. One more story, and I don't know if you all remember this. If you were here, I think it was last weekend that we did this. Do you remember Afro Man? He recently came out with a song that is a play on something that he did some time back. I Got High. Well, he's recently written a new song called Hunter Got High. And if you have not heard this, it's absolutely hysterical. Well, apparently, Apparently, his efforts have paid off for him. Check out this headline. From the Post Millennial, Afro Man's new song mocking Hunter Biden cracks top 10 in Billboard rap songs. Hunter Got High, which was released in late April, has reached the number 8 position on both the R&B and hip-hop digital song sales and rap digital song sales lists. Oh, this is great. I love this. From Hannah Nightingale, Afro Man's newest song, poking fun at scandal-riddled Hunter Biden, has broke into the top 10 on 2 Billboard lists. Hunter Got High, which was released in late April, has reached the number 8 position on both the R&B and hip-hop digital song sales and rap digital song sales lists. Shortly after the release of the song and the music video, the track also reached the top of the iTunes rap chart, with the music video being the top video on the music platform. The song parodies his hit from 2000, Because I Got High. He was going to get his laptop fixed, but Hunter got high, Afro Man sang in the song. He wasn't going to show all them deek pics, but Hunter got high. He should have let Hillary bleach the whole hard drive, but Hunter got high. Hunter got high. Hunter got high. The song has even received accolades from President Trump, with the 2024 candidate autographing a printout of the article of the song, adding, "So great." The Newsweek article signed by Trump quotes Afro Man as saying that he hopes to perform the hit track at Trump rallies during the election season. Oh, I hope he does this. That would be great. That would be fantastic. Quote, "I might really be back. This one might take me to the stratosphere. I might be singing it at some of the Trump rallies," Afro Man said. That is absolutely fantastic. Good for him. Good for him. But on a more serious note, yeah, there's always that possibility, you know. Oh, that is just great. Oh. And God forbid anything happened to him, but Small Time brings up a very valid point. Afro Man is not suicidal. I'm just saying. All right, with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you so much for stopping by this session of Chatting on the Porch. We're going to be back this weekend. Probably going to be Sunday morning. My great nephews have a baseball game Saturday morning. So I'm going to go ahead and make the executive call right now. We will be back this Sunday morning for Front Porch Brunch. Hopefully we're going to be able to get this thing back on normal track. The baseball season, I think, is winding down for the little guys. And so we're going to do all that. So we'll be back this Sunday morning, 10:30 a.m. Oh, thank you so much, y'all. That means a lot. It really does. This one was a lot of fun tonight. A lot of frustration on my part. Not with y'all, but just the topics. Oh, yeah, I am old enough for great nephews. I've got a 30-year-old nephew. He's got kids of his own now. And yeah, I can remember when my nephews they were babies. So, you know, I won't say that I'm getting old, but I am becoming seasoned. So yeah, there's that. Now, do me a favor, y'all. Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, was very gracious indeed tonight to simulcast my rantings on this live stream. Please do me a favor. If you've got some time this evening, stop over there and give him some support. Tell him hello. And I would really appreciate that. He did me a solid. I'd like to return the favor. So go raid the Indian Jesus's live stream. Lutch is a good dude, and he's like me. He's a content creator with not that large of an audience yet. Although I can see the day when it's going to come for him. So yeah, go raid him right now. Help him out. And if you folks on the Indian Jesus channel are still watching this and you're not subscribed to my channels on YouTube and Rumble, y'all can give me a sub anytime you want to. Well, you know, I there's a way to do it. I just don't know how. And if I could figure it out real quick, I'd do it. But my best advice: go over to his channel. Go raid. I will figure out how to do this. But go raid his channel. as much as possible. So folks, we'll be back this Sunday morning. In the meanwhile, we'll try. I promise. I mean, I got to get some videos up because I just got to get some videos up for various reasons. But anyway, we're going to do our best to get that done between now and Sunday. But in the meanwhile, you all have a great night. Thank you so much for being here. This was a load of fun. Anyway, remember the words of that great American philosopher Tom T. Hall when he said, "It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money." Good night. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you Sunday morning. Till then, ta-ta.